Welcome back to another episode of What Are You Made Of with your boy, the unstoppable Mike C-Roc. Listen, guys, we've been rolling for a while now, and I want to thank you today. I just want to take the moment here to show some gratitude. Thank you for the support that you've given me. Thank you for keeping showing up, listening, spreading the word about the What Are You Made Of podcast and all the things that I am into. I really appreciate it because my mission is that all people are unstoppable to live in the life of their dreams. And you help me do that because I can't do it by myself. So I want to thank you today. And today's guest, Fred Joyal, he's a speaker, author, and co-founder of 1-800-Dentist. His latest book, Superbold, From Underconfident to Charismatic in 90 Days, came out last October and is an Amazon and Wall Street Journal bestseller. He's an avid cyclist, a below-average tennis player, and even worse, golfer. I can help you with the golf part. But he once beat Sir Richard Branson in chess. Wow. Okay. So we're going to have to hear about that, I guess. Welcome to the show, Fred.
Thank you for having me here, Mike. I'm really excited because we're so completely aligned. My theme about boldness and super boldness and your concept of being unstoppable. It is really the same thing. I'm just teaching a way to build your confidence and boldness in a way that people don't realize they can. A lot of people think it can't be taught, and that's one of the premises I put out there is anybody can learn this. And I think you've shown people that anybody can be unstoppable. It becomes a choice after a while, and then you just build on it.
Yeah, and I think there's a lot of misconceptions on what unstoppable means. It doesn't mean to continue doing something and not quit or pivot on when something's not working and you realize it's not working. It doesn't mean to keep going. You're going to be unstoppable to go in that direction. It means that you're unstoppable. You cannot be stopped when you set yourself a destination. How you get there is what you got to figure out. And but there's a lot of misconceptions with that. And the other thing, real quick, before I ask you what are you made of, because I'm going off track here for a second, but that's okay. When you're talking about being super bold, a lot of people, like you said, think it's something that just happens or you're born with it, when actually we were born with the ability to just survive and reproduce. And then everything else is created and caused. And people, once they realize that, they're like, oh, well, I just have to create it. Then we're there. So Fred, before you answer that, let me ask you a question. What are you made of?
I am someone who is when other people step down, I step up. When they feel like they've gone as far as they can and give up, that's never been me. I've always found a way, and I've always been determined and energetic, and I've learned to take over the years smarter and smarter risks. But what it's really allowed me to do is become somebody who can really give back. My goal in life after a long and fairly successful business career is to have as much impact on other people's lives as possible, and to make a bolder world.
And so when you decided to be the one that rises when everyone else falls, so to speak, or pulls back, how did that happen? Is that just a decision that you made to step into that being?
It was a very gradual sort of thing that I realized, because I started off as an incredibly shy person growing up. I was, I couldn't ask girls out. I couldn't ask them to dance. I couldn't even make a phone call. I had a job where this guy, the boss, actually said, "You're a really smart guy. I think you could be one of our salespeople." He gave me a desk, and this was a machine shop business. Gave me a desk, gave me a phone, and a list of people in the businesses in the state. He says, "Start calling these people and see if they want to do business with us." I couldn't make a single phone call. I had I had total telephone reluctance. And ironically, my whole business, the 1-800-Dentist, is based on a phone number. But I had to learn to step up. I watched bold people and I thought, why are they like this? Are they born this way? And I said, eventually I was so tired of stacking up the missed opportunities and the regrets and letting hesitation rule my life that I just said, I just got to get comfortable being uncomfortable. And then it starts to create this positive feedback loop, because you realize all the interesting stuff happens on the other side, you realize what bold people know is that you never be the one to stop you. Let somebody else try and stop you. Instead of letting the voice in your head stop you, proceed and discover what might come, and don't even be concerned so much about the outcome as stepping off the high board and seeing what happens.
Yeah. And how old were you when you really had that cognition or understanding?
When I got into the ad business, when I finally, I had flailed around, took me 8 years to finish college, and I probably worked in 40 or 50 different jobs and businesses over that time. And then when I finally walked into an ad agency, I found something I could love doing and get passionate about and feel like I could be good at it. And then it was an opportunity to be bold. It didn't matter that I was the junior copywriter. If I had a good idea, they'd bring me into the pitch meeting, and I would give it my all. I would say, look, if they're going to give me the platform, I'm going for it. And
Own that shit.
yeah. And I would pitch the hell out of my ideas, and it would work. And then I realized, I had to get better at the ideas. I had to become a better and better writer and presenter, but I could taste it finally. And I said, this is who I want to be. I don't want to hold me back. And that's what I was doing. And that's what a lot of people do in life, is they're not, it's not boldness to just be the life of the party or get attention from everybody. It's about bringing the full you to every situation, particularly when it's really important to you. Whether you're raising money for a business, or doing a presentation to your team, or asking for a raise, or trying to meet the woman of your dreams, or trying to meet the mentor of your dreams. You got to speak up. You got to step up. You got to go right into your discomfort zone, chasing it.
Yeah. And are you a dentist too?
I am not a dentist. No,
Okay.
It just happened to be the industry that I went into. No, I'm a writer at core, and I've become a public speaker and a performer on top of that over the years. And it's a skill I managed to develop, which took a lot of boldness. It takes a lot of boldness to walk on stage with 5,000 people in the audience and deliver in an energized and relaxed and coherent way.
Yeah, I did that this weekend at 10X Growth Conference. Yeah, it was 3,700 live and then 15,000 on virtual.
Wow,
and
fantastic.
And yeah, so I know what you're talking about. but what I did was, and I've gone through, this isn't something that just happens, right? You work on it. You like you said, you gradually do it, but it comes from consistent work. Nobody sees all the work that goes in, and then I step on the steps to go up on that stage, and I own that. Like I said, I own that shit. When you were talking about that earlier, like this is my space now. Yeah. Even though, Grant, I respect, is my mentor, business partner, and all that, but like at the end of the day, this is my space now. And you have to kind of approach that. That's how you own it. And you get certainty and confidence, and that just radiates, right?
People are drawn to that. When you bring yourself confidently to a stage or to a room. And that's what part of what my title of my book, the subtitle is From Underconfident to Charismatic. Charisma is just that you are so confident in every situation that people are drawn to that, because they're not that way. They see it and they go, how is he like this? I really pulled into that. Charisma is not some magical thing. It's just you've developed that thing where you say, I own this space. I belong everywhere. That's one of the mantras I try to teach people. If you can tell yourself, no matter where you are, that you belong there, it doesn't matter what you're dressed. I've been in the brokest guy in the room and the least successful guy in the room. Sometimes I've been with billionaires and stuff, and they're all human beings to me. I don't have to say I'm not worthy of being with these people or talking to them or telling them my ideas. When you transform that internal belief, it radiates. Yeah. And when you can bring that to the stage, people are glued to that. They're drawn completely into it.
Yeah, and I've heard a lot of people talk about being adaptable to your environment, which they say that's a positive thing, but I disagree. I think that you need to make the environment adapt to you.
Yeah, I mean,
Would you agree with
for
that?
a lot of my life, I was the chameleon. I was finding any way I could to blend. I don't do that anymore, because what I believe what I bring is significant to people, and it doesn't have to be everywhere. You have to release this idea that everybody has to like you in order for you to step out. It's an impossible dream, right? Just like you're not going to get every man. If you're a woman, you're not going to get every man to like you. All you need is one really good man to really
Yeah.
love you.
Yeah.
And so stop worrying about everybody else. That's the great thing bold people do, is the number of people whose opinions really matter to them is a really short list.
Yeah. So take us back, man. Where did it all start, Fred? Like where, like from a kid, like growing up, where'd you grow up? And like I know, like, by the way, you said I am a speaker and I do this, but really that's not who you are. That's what you do. We all say the
Yeah.
same things, right?
Yeah.
I want to find out who Fred is. Like who are you?
Uh, yeah. Well, I grew up in a small town in Rhode Island, Coventry, Rhode Island. Not a lot going on, no actual sports organized in any way, no little league or, Pop Warner football or anything like that. It was all comic books and Sandlot stuff. But I was lucky enough to go to a private school. My parents worked really hard to get me into an all boys high school, and that really, it was just a foundational education for me, and also made incredibly good friends. And that's what I am at core, is I value my relationships with the people close to me more than anything. I am there for them, and they know it. If they need me there, they know that my slate gets cleared. I'll cancel an event. I'll be on a plane, because that's what matters to me most. I've been lucky enough to buy a bunch of stuff over the years and realize it affected my happiness about 2% relative to the people that I care about getting, being with me, getting what they need from me, and sharing our lives and successes and failures together.
And so what made you decide to write the book?
I had spoken to a high school class, and it was actually a summer session where this guy was teaching high school kids life skills, and he brought in all of these various people in various stages of success that were friends of his, and we all did our life lessons. And this was probably 10 years ago now, and one of the things that I talked about was boldness is a superpower, because that's what I had learned, is when you are bold, doors swing open and sometimes don't even exist where you thought they were. And abundance in life comes from being bold, and they can learn it, because I told them, I said, look, I'm the worst of you. I'll go head to head with you on missed opportunities and regrets and stuff like that. You got one, I got five, right? So I said, but I taught myself this, and it took me decades, and you can learn it much faster. Part of it is you just have to change your mindset about yourself. And then they came to me and said, we believe you. How exactly do we do this? And so I started to develop the systematic way. I analyzed my life and how I did it over decades, and said, how could I compress this? What are these things that I learned? And some of it, the book is social interaction skills. Like, a lot of people don't know how to, hey, they don't even know how to shake hands, some people, right? Or make eye contact in a conversation. I had to learn all that stuff too. Nobody taught me that. And then I said, how do I systematically build my boldness muscle? And that's what I figured out, and that's what I laid out in the book. And then I laid out a bunch of exercises in the book, which are starting very gradually and very subtly, but building, constantly pushing yourself in your discomfort zone to get stronger and stronger, so that you're bold when it matters most. When you asking for a raise, when you've got to give a eulogy for a close friend or a parent, and you need to step up. You want to be able to summon that, because you don't want I want people to live a life of minimal to no regrets, and that just takes boldness. And so once I got it all written, I said, this is great. And finally in COVID, during 2020, I managed to finish the book and
Me too.
Publish it.
Me too.
A lot of spare time.
Oh man, I know that was a grueling. So for me, writing, I had blocked time out to write, and then I would find time there, and then that would be a time where I just couldn't think clearly. I wasn't creative at the time I set for myself to write. And then also rereading it over and over again for editing purposes was like a killer for me. Like I got so sick of the story. So I don't know if you experienced that either, but I was just like, oh my gosh. But so I'm just now starting to think about writing another book. But yeah, is that your first book?
It's actually my third. I wrote 2 for the dental industry on marketing.
Okay.
And so and like I said, at my core, I'm a writer. So I have refined that skill. Advertising really taught me how to write, and improv comedy really taught me how to be on stage, and also to just be comfortable with it, how to tap into my relaxed, energized creativity. And actually, the exercises in the book are designed exactly the way they teach improv comedy, in that gradual way.
So were you an actor ever?
Yeah, I've acted in 100 of my business's TV commercials. I was the spokesperson, and I've acted in 4 or 5 bad movies and a couple of TV pilots that my friends have shot. I did a play many years ago. Blew out my voice doing it because I was like a drill sergeant kind of guy, so I was yelling like crazy in it, and I didn't have the voice training at the time. So I 2 nights in a row, I would be toasting my voice. The play was Streamers. I don't know if you would happen to know it, but so I've done tons of stuff like that. It's really, really fun. It's really all discomfort zone.
Well,
stuff.
And it helps with everything else. Like I have you ever heard of this book here, Audition?
No, but
Michael Shurtleff.
That's one of the classes I took, was an audition class
Yeah.
as well. I took a bunch of acting classes. I took some voice classes. I did a ton of improv. The Groundlings Theater in Los Angeles, where Will Ferrell came from, and Phil Hartman and people like that. They have a school where they teach it, and it really changed me in terms of my ability to create and my stage comfort. Because when you have to walk on stage with no material and create a scene,
Yeah.
that's so, and you figure out how to do it. Going on stage prepared, that's easy.
Yeah, I agree.
So,
well, I started writing down when I was writing my goals down that I was going to be an actor in movies. And of course, I always go for the top. I'm going to be a movie star one day. So I don't know where that came from. I started writing it down, and I don't negotiate with things that come into my mind because it's coming from a higher power than me. So I just write it down, and I'm like, okay, well, what do I got to do? So I signed up for acting classes recently. I'm 45 years old and signed up for acting classes with Tom Todoroff. And they give you a list of books that you have to read before you can attend class. So this is one of them. And I didn't realize how acting was so technical. And there's technical guideposts that Michael talks about in this book. It just blew me away because all the guideposts work in real life. It's not just about acting. So maybe writing this down, maybe this thing came to me. It's like, not necessarily to be a movie star, which I'm going to do anyway, but it's maybe because, look, might be what's missing in all the other things that you're doing. And you need to do this. And so no, I think that's phenomenal. I could tell from what you were talking about that you may have acted in a little bit, or at least taken some classes. So what now? 1-800-DENTIST. Fred, 1-800-DENTIST. Did that start as a tech platform, or was it just a phone number at first, or did it?
It was pre-tech in most ways. I mean, we started in '86, so we didn't even have hard drives in our computers. We didn't have technically advanced phone systems. We just had multiple lines. But what we were doing is running broadcast advertising, which dentists couldn't do, radio and then television. And then we would take all the incoming calls eventually from the whole country and distribute them. So we were constantly updating our database from something very simple. I mean, we had maps at every operator's station with little dots on them with a number on it that told us which dentist was in that area.
Wow.
And then eventually, Google Maps comes along and suddenly now it's on the computer. So we evolved constantly with technology over 30 years. It just made the business more and more functional. It made our search capability more robust and the data, but we always had way more information about the dentist than anybody else. We were Yelp way before Yelp came along. We had highly recommended dentists and we knew everything about them, all their training, all, everything about the practice and the things they offered, and even the insurances they took, all of that stuff. So we were, for many years, we were just the best possible resource to find this thing that people were really uncomfortable about, which is going to the dentist. I mean, you want to talk about selling something hard? I sold going to the dentist for 30 years. And then I sold to dentists, like two incredibly hard things. It's like, why can't I sell? Why didn't I come up with Hawaiian Tropic? Why wasn't that my epiphany for a business? Girls in bikinis and just events at beaches. Wouldn't that have been nice? But
I used to think about that before I was married and met my wife. I used to think about that. Like, should I be a photographer? And then have a certain niche client, Yeah. Oh man, I'll tell you. So are you still a part owner of that or have a piece of that, or did you sell it?
I sold it 5 years ago. It eventually Google disintermediated the business model. Just people just started searching for dentists online and looking for their website. So it took them a long time to do it, but Google eventually turned the model into something that was shrinking and losing profit on a steady basis. But we over 30 years, we generated in total over $1 billion in revenue. So there's nothing to be ashamed of. Then the fact that the model lasted 30 years was pretty good. I mean, it's still around, but it's a pale shadow of what it once was. And I haven't owned it for 5 years. And
so when somebody comes in to buy a company like that has been taken over by another, like Google, for example, why would somebody buy it at that point? And how did you know, like, I guess my thought, one, why would they buy it? And two, are you happy that you waited to sell it that long, or can you get into that a little bit?
No, I'm unhappy that I waited that long. But I actually had a great buyer in 2007, but then the market collapsed, from the, all of the things that happened. And for the first time, our growth dipped off, and we actually, we didn't decrease in revenue, but we decreased in call volume. And we had two buyers bidding against each other, and then they had overbid. They had pushed each other up really to like nosebleed level because they wanted it. And then once our call volume dropped off, because everybody, all the ARM loans and stuff like that, people were losing their houses and their mortgages and stuff like that. People got really conservative on spending on elective stuff in dentistry, veneers and stuff like that, and orthodontic. And so we lost some volume, and they panicked and both withdrew their offers. And that would have really set me up nicely. So we just ran it for another 10 years almost. And, made plenty of money in those 10 years, but it definitely, we stalled. I mean, we couldn't grow at all. We leveled off, and then we could start to see Google just eating our lunch. And we were spending $500,000 a month with Google. I mean, and they would tell us to our face, our goal is to erase you, but in the meantime, we'll take your money.
And then, so why did somebody buy it eventually? Like, what was the purpose of them thinking? What was
They
their goal in
they had
it?
a synergistic approach. They were going to take it and launch a very specific type of dental product campaign. They were a technology company that had this new technology that made dentistry faster and easier for people get a lot of appointments done in a single visit, crowns in a single visit and stuff. So they were going to do this whole massive campaign. They were going to invest in it because to have dentists want that their technology means they sold a ton of it. So if the consumer was pushing it and saying, why do you have this? And the dentist would go, no, I don't have that. So the dentist would have to buy it. So they were
Yeah.
hoping for a consumer driven push to sell their technology to the dentist. And we had been talking about it for years. Well, they bought us and then merged with another huge company 3 months later. And that turned into a massive culture clash. We got totally sidelined for 3 years. And by then they had let our, 3 more years of letting the model suffer to the point. So they paid a decent amount for it, but it was nowhere near what I would have gotten in 2008. But then they killed it. They essentially sacrificed it because they had so much bigger problems.
Gotcha.
And so that would, it's tough to watch your baby go slowly down the drain, but hey, it happens.
And then how do you use that? As we wind down, I have one more question after this, but how do you use that? Like to, there's things that happen in your life that disappoint you, discourage you. How did you convert that into some kind of energy to use for positive?
Hey, sometimes the worst possible thing happens. And if you don't die, it means you're going to be all right. So what's in it? So now I coach businesses. I have a half a dozen CEOs that I coach who are younger and maybe some of them are in the dental industry or coming into the dental industry. And I basically say, I can help you hit different potholes. The history of my business is survivable mistakes.
Mm-hmm.
I can help you make different mistakes or different choices and save you hundreds, if not millions of dollars. If I only had the money from my mistakes, I could, I would be fine, but that's not how it works. You have the world's most expensive MBA running a business.
Yeah. I love it. Well, Fred, as we wind down here, what is the vision for the future for you?
My goal is to create boldness and super boldness as a movement that impacts millions of people to live bolder, more adventurous lives where they know how to chase their dreams and they put it all out on the mat. And at the end of their lives, they don't say, I played it as safe as possible. They say, man, I'm beaten and broken and had a great time and tried everything. Because when the number one thing that people say as they get near death is they don't regret the things they did, they regret the things they didn't try.
Yeah.
Or that they didn't resolve, that they didn't fix their relationship with their dad or their sibling, or they didn't try that business, or they didn't get out of that crappy marriage, whatever it was. The things they didn't do, didn't say, didn't try, that's what's gnawing at them in their last days. I want to create a boldness movement where that's not happening to millions and millions of people.
Love it, man. Love it. Well, look, Fred, I want to thank you for being here. I'm full alignment with your mission. If there's anything I could ever do to support it, which I know there is something, which I'll share with you later. But anything you need, you ever need anything, connections, whatever. Now that we're connected, man, just reach out and ask. Okay.
Thanks, C-Roc. I love being on. I love your mission.
Appreciate it, man. Thank you. And thank you to the listeners for being here, listening, watching. Keep coming back. Go subscribe on your favorite podcast platform. Go look at, YouTube. Check it out if you want to watch these. Subscribe to my favorite YouTube channel. And finally, go check out Blueprinted, BLOO printed.com, where you can find step-by-step processes to achieve any goal in any category, any industry. Go check out blueprinted.com. Until next time, be unstoppable.